know if I can call this one an oldie but a goodie. It's still just within this 1 year, but I am very, very upset about what wound up happening to this series. So, Archive 81. It was released on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. This January 2022 it came out. It was fantastic. When I tell you it is some of the better storytelling, original storytelling of some sort of time travel and interdimensional and just cult following. Like, it's so unique and it's so well done in how it's portraying the story of what's happening to the characters and what's happening in the universe, that the fact that it's already canceled is just so fucking stupid. Like, why? Why? This was so good from start to finish. There is very little moments of just cannon fodder, just nonsense writing of just filling in storyline gaps where they fit to make it where the story just lasts longer. It's only 8 episodes, and maybe you could have gotten rid of enough content for one episode to not be worth it and maybe made it a 7-episode series. But either way, it was so well done. It's based on this guy. And this guy, Dan, if I remember correctly, I believe his name is Dan. He is this archivist whose specialty is to kind of put back together old film and audio cassettes to make it where they can be usable again. And he does this for a museum. So he gets called in by this other specialist that works for a company that he doesn't know. And he's like, I'm going to give you like $40 million. I'm definitely exaggerating that because I watched this back in February, right after it had released. And I don't remember it all that well, but it is on my list to talk about and I want to talk about it. And I don't remember all the details, so I'm probably going to be a little hazy on it. But essentially, this is the essential point. No matter how shady this dude who runs this weird company that he doesn't know about, Dan takes the job because how do you pass up like 40 grand for like a week's worth of work? He's just like, here, we've got a box of 8 tapes. They have to be fixed. We were told you were the best. Please fix them. And then it turns out being this whole twist and turn thing where it's a mystery that he's trying to unfold, and all the cassettes happen to connect to this girl, Melody, who was stuck in this hotel trying to discover why people were just kind of drawn to it. And it had this like kind of cult background and this, almost Satanist background of like these people that believed in this character who came from another dimension, and they believed in this book that were able to tell you what you had to do and the sacrifice you had to make in order to be given access to this other dimension. Now, before I continue, what I have to also state is that this I hold a little bit more near and dear to me as well, simply because it's based on a podcast. There's a podcast called Archive 81 that this show is based off of. Now, I love the fact that they have podcasts getting their own shows because a lot of people put a lot of work into the podcasts they make. I happen to have a short story podcast that I run myself. I haven't added anything there in a year because I'm one person, and it's a lot to really make some of these things. And Archive 81 has been going strong, from what I understand, since 2016, which is enough to give you something to make it substantial enough that somebody's going to look at you and go, you know what, this could be worth making a show out of. Another example is Lore of excellent podcast by a man named Aaron Mankey, who he had his podcast picked up by Amazon Prime, and he got 2 seasons of that show as well. Unfortunately, they also dropped that show, but I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into, this had so much potential because of all of its good storytelling that was already done by podcasters. Like, they put the time and the effort to do like 35 episodes, and you only gave them this 1 season that ended on such a major cliffhanger that we don't know if we're ever going to get to see it again, because most of the time when a show is canceled, Netflix is the one to pick it up. But this is a Netflix show, so it's not going to get picked up because if Netflix doesn't want to do it, they're just not going to do it. So anyway, let's move on with what else happens. So Melody goes to this hotel. She finds this girl. She sort of discovers the girl is meant to be the sacrifice. And she's like, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I have to save her. Now, she's also like a aspiring documentist, so she's recording everything. And it's just great to see that it's her storyline is all based in the 90s. So she has like that little camcorder that like Macaulay Culkin had in Home Alone 2. And she's just running around recording all this crazy shit that's happening. And she's watching like seances happen. And she's walking in on their like cult meetings where they're all singing this crazy song. And she's going to plays that also betray this song because they're trying to like pull people into the cult and get more people because they need a sacrifice, and the sacrifice they make is the little girl, and she's like, no, I'm going to save the little girl. And now Dan is just fixing these tapes, and he's watching all of this unfold, and he sees that there's another deep connection that he has between the girl and just the story that's happening. And he eventually finds out that the connection he sees is that his father, who passed away in a house fire, who was a psychiatrist, was Melody's psychiatrist. So that's his weird connection to this. So then he starts going to try to dig into the background of the weird millionaire who decided to pay him to reopen these cassettes and fix them so people could watch what's happening on them. And he starts digging more and more and trying to find out what's the deal with the house, what's the deal with the tapes, why am I doing this, why is this all connected to my life in some way, shape, or form. And you learn that he's been traumatized because, you know, his family at one point was attacked by the cult, because the cult's been around since that long. And the whole cult that you see in the back flashes, you see them kind of burn his house to the ground and murder his whole family, and all he has is him and his dog. And he starts making these connections to these tapes, and he does this thing that's kind of like a dream walking thing where he goes back in time and he's talking to Melody and he's trying to like explain to her like what's happening, and he tries to help her, but she doesn't understand what's happening because it's also happening to her, so she's dream walking, and there's this weird connection. It's almost like if Dreamcatcher, From Hell, and Sense8 had a love child. That's basically what Archive 81 is. And I'm just so upset that this had such tremendous potential and Netflix decided to give up on it. Like, you could have run this for so much longer. It could have been such a big show, even if you only did a 3-season thing like you did with Lost in Space, or a 4-season thing like maybe with Umbrella Academy, or maybe just a couple, anything, just a little bit more to just round out the story. But this is just one of the many shows over the last 3 years that Netflix has just given a push and then out of nowhere decides, fuck it, we're going to cancel it. Why? I don't fucking know. The series was watched like by 128 million people. It had people praising it. It has vastly good ratings. From everything I saw about it, it has tremendous ratings for everything that was happening in it. And just for some reason, they just decided to cancel it. So very disappointed in Netflix for this one particular thing. Like, maybe I can let certain things pass. Like, Jupiter's Legacy, I don't give a fuck. You gave Tiger King 5 different specials. You could have given us a second season of Archive 81 to at least close out the story. Even if it felt rushed, you could have did that for us. But we're not going to get anything else as far as I know unless people rally behind it like they did Sense8. But we're already a couple of months after the cancellation, and I don't see it happening. But if you've never seen it and you've never given it a chance, go back and watch it. Maybe if it catches some sort of heat wave of people that are returning to it, maybe we can get some more. I don't know. But Archive 81 is just a tragedy, and I wish we were going to get more at some point in time. And this is just, it's just really upsetting.